Hello friends and loved ones, and welcome back to another Megami Tensei Rankings. Last year, I went over the first 12 Persona users in Persona 5 The Phantom X that were all announced in 2023. And now I'm back with all of the 2024 Personas, since they've all been released in the global version, which means we've got 16 Personas to look at today. Now, just as a reminder, this is not a comprehensive look at their skills, or their kits, or their viability as gacha units, so if that's the type of ranking you're looking for, you're not going to find that here. It's just me going over these characters and discussing how I subjectively feel about each one. With this being a Persona 5 thing specifically, I have decided I'll be taking both their Persona and Metaverse outfits into consideration when I give my rankings. As always, please remember that these are my opinions. A B is not a low ranking, and if I hate your favorite character, just know that it was personal and I did it because I don't like you specifically. With that out of the way, let's get started. So the way I'm going to do these is by always starting things off with our real characters, like the story characters, and then I'll focus on the Phantom Idols. So I am going to jump around a little bit and open with Riko Wind Tanemura and her persona, Chiyome, of the... Right, Persona 5X doesn't have Arcanas, it's just force of habit. So instead what I'm going to do is I will say their class. So we have Chiyome being an Elucidator persona. So Wind is our primary support character, like Fuka or Futaba, and I've gotta say, I think this is a pretty solid design. I really love the emphasis on papercraft in her design, with Chiyome's paper plane kite hang glider thing that helps her fly, and Wind's parasol that she uses in her battle animations. I think the paper really helps tie into her roots as a noblewoman and poet who was secretly a ninja clan leader. I think just comparing to other mainline support personas, Chiyome isn't my favorite, but she's not my least favorite either. I'm gonna go with a B tier on this one, even if Futaba is totally in lesbians with her. And before we move on, let's also take a look at Riko and Chiyome's Tempest variant, who is a wind strategist. Now, I love that this is a thing. I really like the idea of support characters getting battle variants. These versions both look really good. It feels like an upgrade to Chiyome. I know a lot of the main cast gets these sort of enhanced versions, like, as of the time of writing this script, they just revealed closers the other day. They actually remind me a lot of the Prime Personas from, Persona 2, where, it's still Vulcanus, but it's, more Vulcanus. I will say, I think Wind's Tempest outfit is a little bit much. I almost feel like her outfit should be switched. The Tempest outfit looks like it would really get in the way during a fight, but maybe I'm just overthinking it. I do still really like it. I don't think it's going to change my ranking though, so we're just going to keep Tempest Wind and Tempest Chiyome at a B tier. So sticking with actual plot-related characters, I'm also going to be looking at our first swimsuit version via Motoha Arai and Awilda's Tropical variant, who is a Bless Sweeper. Now, obviously, I'm not going to judge the swimsuits as proper, Phantom Thief outfits, but I will say, examining Motoha's look as a swimsuit, this might be my favorite swimsuit design in all of Persona. It's colorful, it's fashionable, it fits her character, and come on, she looks so good that strangers might try to riz her up. And I do like the design. As for Awilda herself, if you didn't watch the first video or just need a refresher, I gave this one an S rank. It's a really good design, and frankly, the summer beach theme continues to work super well in this Persona's favor. Everything I loved about Awilda is still here, like the shark mouth cape and the boots, but I love how the beach elements serve to just enhance that. The cape having waves inside of it looks really good. Her ponytail being flowing water is awesome. She's got the literal fishnets on her costume, and I love that her hat is now an orange slice. It's not only a super cute touch that fits the summer aesthetic, but it ties into Motoha's character as an athlete and the Persona's origins as a pirate, since, hey, gotta eat your oranges to avoid scurvy, right? So yeah, Tropical, Awilda, and Motoha are still gonna be an S rank in my eyes, and I know I said I'm not gonna focus too much on battle stuff, but holy crap, this unit rules. She has saved my butt so many times. Hey, real quick, if you like what I'm doing, please consider commenting, subscribing, maybe even checking out the Patreon. It honestly does help a lot. Thanks so much. Let's move on to the Phantom Idols. I know I promised I would not let this affect my ranking too much. I do really wish they adhered to the Persona 5 theme, but they're mostly just obscure Greek figures, except for the ones that aren't, and as such, I apologize in advance if I pronounce any of them incorrectly. Also, I know they're technically called Persona duos, but I'm not duoing that. So the first one we're going to look at is Yue and her persona Apseudes, the Electric Assassin. Yui is Wonder's MMO buddy, and despite that already being a fake name, she still gets the codename Bowie. Now, here's the deal with this character. Back when I was first compiling my list and kinda making some initial judgments, this pair probably would have just gotten a C rank. It's fine, Bowie is fine, Apseudes is fine, I don't really have a lot to say about them. As you can see from the footage, I don't even have her unlocked as a character yet, but since we've already talked about variants, I will say this. Bowie got a new version that I'll be discussing in the next video, and not to spoil too much of that, but I like that version so much more that it actually makes me like this default version less. So I am literally bumping it from a C to a D tier, because I've seen with my own eyes how much better they could have done with this character. I admit that is not the best start for the Phantom Idols, but trust me, I do have nicer things to say about other characters. Then we have Miyu Puppet Sahara and her Elucidator persona, Nemertes. Now, I'll confess, I do have some gameplay-related attachment to this character because for a really long time, she was just the best support character I had access to, so she helped me out a lot. I do really like Nemertes herself. The mermaid motif ties nicely into Puppet's origins of being a street performer and telling the Little Mermaid story. You all know I am a huge sucker for ocean-related aesthetics, so I'm obviously a fan there. That said, I think Puppet's Phantom Thief design leaves a lot to be desired. I get it's supposed to be like a scuba diver and it symbolizes her desire to dive down away from her high-class family, but it's a little bland. I've seen real wetsuits with more oomph than this, so I think some brighter colors or patterns would have helped her stand out and would have also worked for her penchant as a storyteller. Yeah, I just think it could have been better, so I'm gonna go C tier on this one. Next up is Toshia, Sepia, Sumi, and Gorgyra, the Curse Assassin persona. Okay, so you know how everybody has that, one Pokemon where they're like, this doesn't look like a Pokemon to me? For me, that Pokemon is Trevenant, by the way, but that's kinda how I feel about Gorgyra. I'll clarify, I do really like this design. I kind of wish it belonged to a character I cared more about instead of Man Bun McGee over here, and I really can't explain why, but it feels very out of place to me as a persona. But it works. I love the bottle body and the quill, the sharp-toothed grin is delightful, the scroll looks nice, I like it. But I'll admit, I never use this character. I think the only time he makes it into my team is when I really need some backup curse damage. But there are just better options, especially since when he came out, we already had access to characters like Joker and Reen. This dude never stood a chance. Like I said though, it's a very unique and memorable design for me, and frankly, I do think Sepia's Phantom Thief design is perfectly fine, so I think together, I'm gonna give these two a B tier. They're good. The children yearn for the mines, if Haruna Riddle Nishimori and her persona, Daeira, the Psy Strategist, or Sidergist if you will, have anything to say about it. I have sort of mixed feelings on this one because the idea of a giant cartoony mech persona being piloted by its young wielder is actually pretty neat. It's a fun and distinct design that I don't hate, and it being based on a nymph associated with knowledge fits Riddle herself well enough. That said though, I don't know, a lot of the other Persona duos feel like they do a much better job connecting to both the character's personality and the Greek myth they're based on. Daeira is just kind of a robot. A fun pink robot, and again, I like the idea of piloting this persona similar to Makoto riding her motorbike persona, but yeah, it's just not that special, and while gameplay is hardly the biggest factor for me, Haruna is pretty lackluster for a 5-star character. This is just going to be another C tier for me, it's really not anything special. And now it's time for Yosuke Hanamura's favorite Phantom Thief, Minami, Marion, Miyashita, and Thalia the Blessed Medic. Now, look, again, I'm not focusing on battle and gameplay too much, but Holy crap, Minami is like the best healer in the game. She genuinely is a must-get unit for this title. I can't stress that enough. Minami being a nurse works well enough and is a prime example of how many of these characters' designs aren't based on their rebellion, but their desire. And Thalia is a perfectly solid design. I really like the mask here. I'm a big fan of the darker greens and pinks. The earthy tones work really nicely together, and the detail of her legs forming into a syringe plays into the nurse and healing motif. I think everything here does what it's supposed to, and I really don't have anything to complain about. All of that stuff, coupled with, again, her being like the best healer in the entire game, this is an A-tier character for me. I really like this one. So earlier we talked about Haruna, possibly the youngest human Persona user, and now we have the oldest human Persona user with Chizuko, Vino, Nagao, and Ampelos, the nuclear saboteur. I love this character. She's sassy and cool, she likes jazz and wine, and come on, she's a total gilf. A genuinely interesting lady friend. And her persona, like, come on, it's a giant wine glass with boobs that's also a cyborg stingray that she surfs on. That is cool on so many levels, and I don't care who you are. I think the closest thing I have to a complaint here is I don't really get why her Phantom Idol self gets this like crazy long hair. I really prefer her real world haircut, and I wish she had that instead, but oh well, maybe she gets a variant one day. But yeah, if me wishing the Phantom Idol self would get a haircut is my biggest complaint, we're dealing with something good here. This is gonna be another A tier for me. I love these two. And speaking of drinks, let's take a look at Yumi Phoebe Sheena and her elucidator persona Urania. Now, I use this character and her persona a lot because she's the only 5-star elucidator that I have, and I like Phoebe's design and personality and stuff just fine. I like that her support skills are based around serving drinks, like it works well for her as a flair bartender, but I've gotta confess, Urania herself does so little for me, and so little about her really stands out. Like, she's one of those personas I can barely even remember what she looks like if I'm not looking directly at her. If I didn't like Phoebe and the cocktail theme as much as I do, she'd probably be lost to the annals of the K ranking, but those saving graces at least keep her firmly at a C. For cocktail. Moving on to the musical part of our episode, and nope, don't know why I set it up like that, no interest in singing. It's Ayaka Chord Sakai and the electric strategist Calliope. And because I am Simpsons-brained, I literally can't think of this persona without, well, roll the clip.
I am Calliope, the muse of heroic poetry.
Unfortunately, this is another one of those units I don't have, which sucks because apparently she is also one of the best buffer units in the entire game and is considered a must-pull. And honestly, this is a great set. I love Chord's black and yellow glam rock aesthetic, and Calliope has such a cool design. I adore the top hat and the black bob and the long cable that leads into an amp plug, and the way her entire body is one big music box. Like, this is a totally sweet design, and it works for the myth and the character on so many levels. I really like these two. I'm gonna give this one an A tier. I'm a big fan of it. And now it's time for another Seaside variant with Motoha's bestie, Seaside, Tomoko, Moko, Noge, and Prosymna Seaside, the Psy Medic, and yeah, this one just does nothing for me. It's just way too close to regular Prosymna, who wasn't even that interesting to begin with to me. Unlike Awilda, there's very little that makes it feel like it fits the ocean or beach theme. It's almost just a color swap, and I don't even think the new colors are that much better. This is honestly probably going to be a K ranking. It's just an even less memorable version of a persona I already don't think that much of, and Moko's swimsuit isn't really all that special either. I guess the hat is kinda cute. Kira, Mesa, Katazato, and Harpyia, the physical assassin persona. Dude, like, holy crap, I love all of this. The Plague Doctor aesthetic, the feathers, the fake eyeball, which I'm still convinced is an intentional reference to Shaxx, whose Megaten design also has a Plague Doctor motif. And then his persona is this super cool bird monster with knives for feathers? Like, come on! I know people have said Mesa isn't actually that useful of a combat unit, but I do not care. I pulled for this guy and I regret nothing. I love his energy, his design, his persona, and he's even voiced by the protagonist from Persona Trinity Soul, which I discussed in my most recent video on my favorite repeat Persona voice actors. Mesa and Harpyia work so well together for me. This is an S tier. This is honestly one of my favorite combos in the entire game. So, the best way I can describe Masaki Cherish Ashiya is he's what you'd get if Jun from Persona 2 and Yusuke from Persona 5 had a baby and it picked up all of their worst social skills. And then there's Amalthea, the Ice Guardian. This is another unit that I don't have, and I also think it's worth mentioning that outside of our next story-related character and a soy variant, this is the last new guy Persona user we've gotten in this game. And he was announced in 2024. But, okay, Amalthea is actually a pretty nice design. I really like the mythological connections here, like it actually having the one broken horn, and the shield arms is a nice reference to the Aegis. The ice spikes look pretty nice, and yeah, this is a solid design that I do think works for Cherish's appearance. I debated keeping it at a C just because I don't really have it, so I haven't seen it in action, but I will be fair, I'm going to give this one a B. I like it enough that I think it can have that. And now we can move on to our first not swimsuit related variant. We have Frostgale Corone Montagne, which I still don't know how to pronounce, and Terpsichore, the ice and wind assassin. So in my original video, I gave normal Terpsichore a C and was just like, yeah, just not really that wowed by it. And that's because I was already thinking about how much better this version is. I think Mont's outfit here looks better, I think Terpsichore looks great with the ice skates. While I do really like the shade of blue in the original design, the teal is also very striking and memorable, and again, I think these two work better together. So yeah, Frostgale Terpsichore is going to be an upgrade for me, and I'm going to settle on a B here. And lastly, we have Runa, Howler, Dogenzaka, and Aura of the Fire Saboteur Persuasion. Look, it's been a long video. I'm tired. If you're still here, you're willing to put up with a lot of my opinions, so here we go. Fuck, dude. Howler is the hottest fucking character in the franchise. I love this fucking puppy girl so much. I don't know who decided she needed to be that caked up, but oh my god, I owe them a fucking fruit basket or something. To steal a joke from Team 4-Star, her codename should have been Trash Can, because I want to put my litter inside her. Like, dude, I am not normal for this character. Holy fucking shit. Oh, yeah, and Aura is actually pretty cool looking. I like that because a large part of her personality and backstory is being a mascot, that her persona itself feels a little bit more cartoony. Honestly, you know what it is? Aura reminds me of the Toon Monsters from Yu-Gi-Oh!, which have always been some of my favorites. But seriously, fucking Howler, man, like, jeez. Look, I reserve the S+ rank for, like, the best of the best of the best, and I do not take that lightly. So, no, I'm not going to give Howler an S+ just because she's got me wondering if the Shichi-kun costume stays on during sex, but I still want to give her something even more meaningful than an S. So, what's between S and S+? Spla. Yep, there you go. Howler and Aura get a Spla. Fuck, I love this fat puppy girl so fucking much. And on that note, that is literally every new Persona 5 The Phantom X persona that was first revealed in 2024. 16 personas. That is literally double what I've covered in some of these other videos. I am not used to ranking for that long. Okay, yeah, who is your favorite Persona 5X persona so far? Do you agree or disagree with my rankings? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below, and let me know what character you're most looking forward to me talking about down the road. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time, so until then, take care.